10 things they feel when you simply disappear. A Stoic reflection. The quiet exit. To leave quietly is an act both powerful and disorienting. In a world obsessed with closure, announcements, and final words, disappearing without fanfare, without explanation is often perceived as a deep rupture. Whether it's ending a friendship, a romantic relationship, or simply withdrawing from certain circles, the act of disappearing speaks in silence. And while the world continues spinning, those left behind often experience a cascade of emotions, questions, reflections, and assumptions flood in. Stoicism, the ancient philosophy born in the Stoa of Athens, offers us a unique lens to examine this emotional whirlwind. The Stoics Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca believed in the discipline of perception, the control of emotion, and the clarity of intention. They didn't seek to avoid feelings, but rather to understand and govern them. So when someone disappears, Stoicism doesn't ask us to pretend we feel nothing. Instead, it invites us to inquire deeply. What is this feeling? Is it within my control? What does it reveal about my attachments, my ego, and my expectations? Here are 10 things people often feel when someone simply disappears, explored not only from a human standpoint, but through the steady, calm eyes of Stoic wisdom. 1. Confusion. The mind's first protest. When someone vanishes without explanation, confusion usually arrives first. Why becomes the dominant question. The human mind craves causality. It wants a story, a reason, a clear line from point A to point B. Without it, the mind spins. The Stoics would acknowledge this confusion but temper it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it." The disappearance itself is neutral. It is our interpretation, our desire for understanding, our resistance to ambiguity that causes distress. To the Stoic, confusion is an internal signal, an alert that the ego is trying to reconstruct control in a universe that owes us none. 2. Hurt. A bruise to the ego. Disappearing often feels like rejection, and rejection feels like a wound. But what exactly is being wounded? Is it love? Or is it pride? Seneca wisely wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." The hurt we feel may not stem solely from the absence of the person, but from the stories we attach to that absence. I wasn't important enough. I must have done something wrong. They never cared. The Stoics encourage us to separate the event from our reaction. The act of disappearing says more about the person who left than the person left behind. Hurt is a natural response, but it too is impermanent and, most importantly, optional. 3. Abandonment. The fear of being unchosen. Humans are wired to bond, to belong. So when someone departs without warning, it can stir deep-rooted fears of abandonment. This feeling isn't always rational, it's ancient, primal. We equate being left with being unsafe. But Epictetus reminds us, "Remember that you are an actor in a play, the character of which is determined by the playwright. If he wants it short, it is short. If long, it is long." People enter and exit our lives as part of a greater unfolding. Their presence is not guaranteed, nor is their exit always within our control. To feel abandoned is to believe that something essential has been taken from us. But the Stoic asks, was it ever truly yours to begin with? 4. Guilt. Did I cause this? When someone disappears, many people turn inward not in a reflective, healthy way, but in a self-blaming spiral. They ask, was it something I said? Something I did? Guilt, especially in empathic people, fills the silence left behind. But the Stoics encourage responsibility, not guilt. Guilt is often a misuse of reason, a projection of power where we have none. We are only ever responsible for our own actions, our own intentions. What others do, even if triggered by our behavior, remains their choice. Seneca wrote, "He who blames others has a long way to go on his journey. He who blames himself is halfway there. He who blames no one has arrived." 5. Anger. The demand for justice. Anger arises when expectations are broken, when we believe someone should have handled things differently. Anger is a demand for accountability, for closure, for fairness. But Stoicism teaches that anger is always a form of self-harm. It's drinking poison, expecting the other person to suffer. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice. To be ghosted, dropped, or erased may feel unjust. But if you respond with rage, you only perpetuate harm, mostly to yourself. 6. Nostalgia, a trap in disguise. After the anger and confusion settle, nostalgia often creeps in. We romanticize the moments shared, the good times, the laughter. It becomes easy to edit the past into a highlight reel, erasing the moments of disconnect or misalignment that may have led to the departure. But as Epictetus says, it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. Nostalgia can be a distortion just as dangerous as resentment. It tugs at us, trying to lure us into reopening closed doors. A Stoic doesn't deny memory, but filters it through clarity. What was, but it no longer is, and that too is part of the cosmic order. 7. Envy. Comparison is suffering. In the age of social media, disappearing rarely means true absence. You might still see the person thriving or appearing to without you. This sparks envy, the belief that they are better off without you, that they have moved on more easily. Envy is corrosive. It stems from the idea that life is a zero-sum game, that someone else's piece subtracts from your own. But Marcus Aurelius cautioned, "Do not waste what remains of your life in speculating about your neighbors, unless with a view to some mutual benefit." Envy distracts us from our own journey. What they feel, what they do, what they gain or lose, none of it belongs to us. 8. Relief. The unspoken truth. Sometimes, beneath all the grief and confusion, there's a whisper of relief. Perhaps the connection was strained. Perhaps it was rooted more in habit than harmony. And now someone has done what we were too hesitant to do. Relief can feel shameful, especially when others expect us to mourn. But the Stoics would see this not as betrayal, but as clarity. Nature has a way of clearing space. As Seneca wrote, "All cruelty springs from weakness." Perhaps your own weakness was tolerating something unaligned, and their disappearance was nature correcting course. Relief is not always a sign of heartlessness. Sometimes it's the first breath of truth. 9. Freedom, the gift in disguise. With distance comes perspective. The absence creates space not just externally, but internally. Time once spent analyzing texts, deciphering moods, or navigating emotional landmines can now return to you. This is the turning point in the Stoic path. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What once consumed you is no longer present. Now, what will you do with the energy? Freedom is the opportunity to realign your life, not in reaction to others, but in accordance with your own values. 10. Acceptance. The final, quiet arrival. At the end of all emotional weather comes a stillness, acceptance. Not because you got answers, not because you reconnected, but because you stopped needing either. To accept is not to condone or to forget. It is simply to let be. To understand that every person, like every wave, comes and goes according to rhythms beyond your control. As Epictetus said, "Seek not that events should happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly." Acceptance is not a passive state. It is an act of strength. It says, "I do not need closure to have peace. I do not need presence to be whole." Disappearing as a mirror. When someone disappears, they leave behind more than silence. They leave a mirror. In that mirror, we see our attachments, our expectations, our illusions, and if we look deeply enough, our resilience. Stoicism doesn't ask us to be indifferent. It asks us to be honest. What we feel in the wake of disappearance is real, but it is not always true. Our pain is not always proof of harm. Our longing is not always proof of love. Our confusion is not always a call for clarity. What Stoicism gives us is not immunity from heartbreak, but a compass within it. It tells us, let the world change, let people leave, let things end, but do not let it. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for your time.